I hear your
My mail in the background. I'm sorry. I'll try to be a little bit
oh
more
no,
quiet.
okay. Hey D Brown. I don't know if you're back in here or not. I see you've been in here already. Let's see. Let me get to my because I like to watch it from here. Hey Sherry, aloha. How are you? I realize that there's some commercials in the beginning. How's it going, Sherry? How's your day been, Sherry? I'm surprised they put commercials in on hey Lisa T, how are you? On the beginning of a live. Because that delays people from coming in.
You must have a lot of followers.
No, not necessarily. I have like 1,050.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why. I'm like, no, I don't have that many.
Sherry says commercial and ads are good, especially if you're monetized. Yeah, it is. It really is. And I'm new, like so, like I just got ads this week like that. So
Oh, well, that's good. Congratulations.
yes, thank you. I'm gonna have to do something eventually. Hey Sting, how are you? Welcome. Come on in. Hi. So the ads are slowing entries, slowing down entry. Come on in. Give a few of you a chance to get in, and then I'll introduce our guest, and we can move forward so that I don't hold you all too long. I know Diva is coming on at 8:30 with her Wine Wednesdays. Um, hey Florida, how are you? Oh, your busy night with the family. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Hey Ginger, thank you for stopping by. Hey, okay. Let a few more people come in. I took the music off I usually have on in the beginning. I'm gonna have to find some directly from the YouTube non-copyright. I thought that I was, but I guess I had a few issues with some. Hey, D Brown, you were here first and then you left. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I would like to introduce you all. If you've seen on my community page, a good friend of mine. Her name is Renee, and she is an advocate for domestic violence. She travels worldwide doing tours on, you know, just like getting out information and getting her story told and providing resources. She has a non-for-profit organization that promotes domestic violence prevention and assistance. And so I'm going to allow Renee to tell her story. And then at the end, if you have questions, or you can put questions in the chat, and we'll give her a chance to answer some of your questions if you have some. So, welcome, Renee.
Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Swag, for having me. This is an honor and a privilege, especially during the month of domestic violence awareness. Don't want to take away from um, breast cancer awareness month as well, but however, um, you know. I'm glad that you have me in on this platform. So, for those of you who are listening, I'm so excited to be here. I'm just a little old nobody who try to tell people about some stuff that they need to know. So I'm just gonna get right into it and share my story. I'm proud to say that I am 51 years old. I know my picture don't look like it, and I will show my face, but my background is a little disoriented right now, so we're not going to do that. However, I'm 51 years old and I am a 15-year domestic abuse survivor. I'm a four-time suicide attempt survivor, and I survived being gunned down in front of my home. It'll be 14 years this December 28th. I was shot four times in my lower back. But I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God. I don't put my God off on anybody else, but I just know what He's done for me. To look at me, you would not know what I've been through. But with those gunshots, one was an in and out, one was a graze, two ricocheted off of every organ in my body. One rendered me paralyzed for 2.5 days. Everything else ricocheted off of all of my organs except for my heart. I was in the hospital for 8 days total. I was up walking by the fifth day, and out of the hospital, like I said, in 8 days. So I know without a shadow of a doubt, for me, I know that God did it. And from there, it took me a while to get myself together to want to share my story. It took me almost 6 years, and someone invited me to their platform because they knew of my story because I really didn't tell a lot of people. And from that began me writing books and becoming a professional speaker and starting the organization. Disclaimer: I was married for 9 years on paper. Me and my ex husband were together for a total of 15. He was my abuser. However, he was not the person who shot me. Do I believe wholeheartedly that he had something to do with it? Yes, I do. But again, that's my take on it. There was never any evidence to prove otherwise, but that's my truth. That's the truth that I walk into. So, with that being said, like I said, I've traveled the globe. I've been over in Europe. I've been in the Caribbean several times, and I've been able to share my story throughout the country. And it's been a pleasure. My organization is called For My Voice Matters. It's number four for the number of times I was shot and the number of times I attempted suicide on my life. And I always tell people that I'm terrible. I suck at just actually trying to take my own life. I failed miserably four times, and then someone had the audacity to try to come behind me and take my life. So I knew after that that there was a plan and a purpose for my life. So that's what I do. Now I actually not just talking about suicide prevention and domestic violence, and Suicide Prevention Month was in September, but I actually coach, and I also travel the country empowering people, letting them know that they don't have to be in a place called stuck. So, yeah, that's my story, Swag, in a nutshell.
O- Okay. And also, can you tell us a little bit about the tour that's going on?
I sure can. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. So, what I am is, I am a professional speaker, and what I did realize is when I started coming into this speaking space, along with the Les Browns and the Lisa Nichols and the Jeremy Andersons of the world and the E.T. Thomases, I realized that yes, we can monetize this, and there are so many people out there that have stories, whether it be stories of triumph, tragedy into triumph, or just being motivational and empowering people. Everyone has a story. Some people are not meant to be speakers. However, those people who want to step off into the speaking space, I, along with some other people, we started coaching people, and I decided to take this nationally. So what happens is we interview and we audition speakers, and we give you a platform. It is a pay to play opportunity. However, this gives you momentum, it gives you notoriety. We have photographers there, so you now have a digital footprint on social media saying that you've actually spoken on several stages. So this year, we've done four cities so far. As a matter of fact, next weekend, the 22nd of October, is my final city, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. So if anyone's in the Atlanta area and you want to come and see some dynamic speakers and be encouraged, empowered, and motivated to move to your next, we have tickets available on Eventbrite. and it's at the Embassy Suites Hotel near the airport, 4700 South Port Road, I believe is the correct address. And it's just a day full of just networking, empowerment, speaking. And again, this is an opportunity. If you're interested in 2023, you can reach out to me because we will be doing, I believe, 5 or 6 cities again next year. All the cities have not been solidified, but this year we did Baltimore, Maryland, Jackson, Mississippi, Chicago, Illinois, Charlotte, North Carolina, we just got back from. And then again, we're doing Atlanta, Georgia next week. So it's an awesome opportunity to get your voice heard. We have authors, speakers, motivational coaches. Everybody is all on this platform encouraging each other.
So if somebody was interested in attending the Atlanta event, when will it take place?
It is next Saturday, October 22nd. And again, we have tickets on Eventbrite. I can share that link with you. Let me see if I can I comment?
You should be able to. Oh, you came off. She'll come back in. She made a mistake and hit the wrong button. Hi, everybody. I can take this time to speak until Renee comes back. Hey, Lucinda. Hey, Erica, Nikki, Nicole, Maisha. Hey, how are you? Linda, welcome. Okay, she's back.
Okay, well, I guess I can't like try to look through my phone and do it while I'm here. So what I will do, Swag, is I will share the link with you after the broadcast, and then
Okay.
you can share it with your followers.
Yeah, I'll put it on my community board if anybody is interested in attending the tour on domestic violence. Her last tour for this year, Renee's last tour is in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's next month. And then, as she stated, if you're interested in possibly being a speaker for next year's tour, then you can contact her. That information will also be provided. Renee, would you like to tell the story of what happened, or do you not want to go into that?
Oh, sure, I could tell the story. So how I again being with my ex-husband, I was put out of my home October 26th of 2008. Um, and I made the conscious decision then never to return. And in the process, 2 months and 2 days after that was when I was gunned down in front of my home. I was coming home from a church service, and um, as I was pulling into my driveway, the um, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for a word other than criminal, but that's the first thing that came to mind. The criminal came from behind a tree and proceeded to walk on my angle. And I tried to go back to my car. However, he told me not to move, called me out of my name. And then he began to cock the pistol. And then he let off 4 shots. The first one, I believe, is the one that paralyzed me or that knocked me down. Um, and like I said, he came over and stood and shot me 4 more times after that. I never lost consciousness until they put me under. I was in surgery for 4.5 hours. And after I came out of surgery, about a day and a half later, was when they told me everything that had transpired and what had happened to me. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. As far as the abuse is concerned, I will tell people all the time when I first met my ex-husband, of course, I could tell anybody we never walk down the street and see an abuser beating somebody else and tell them, hey, you know what? I think you could beat me a lot better than you're beating that person. Come be with me. So my ex-husband was very charismatic. He was charming. He wasn't bad looking on the eyes at the time. And we had a decent relationship when we first started courting. I didn't start seeing the sign. Well, I'm not gonna say I didn't start. I didn't start recognizing the signs of abuse till probably, I don't know, maybe about a year after I was in. And by that time, being young and not necessarily naive, but just young, um, I just overlooked some things. And I thought love could triumph. And then I thought maybe if we got married, it would be better. And it wasn't. And I stayed because I loved him. I stayed out of fear. I stayed because I didn't think anybody would understand. And it took me um, like about 14 years, 13 or 14 years to understand that I deserved better and I wanted better. So when the opportunity came, we got into not an altercation, but a very intense argument. And he basically told me I had to leave and get out. And I did. And with me leaving and getting out, uh-uh. I just decided not to go back because he did. He tried to call and say that he wanted me to come back and he wanted to work on it. Um, and I just refused to. I just wanted better for myself, not knowing that 2 months and 2 days later, after filing, even after filing for divorce, that I would be gunned down in front of my home.
Wow. So that is, I remember, you telling this story so long ago. And just for the record, she's no longer paralyzed. She is very well. Do you still have complications from the shooting?
No, ma'am. I didn't even really have complications afterwards. I never went to physical therapy. I think I went to physical therapy maybe 6 months afterwards, only because I felt like my pelvis was shifting, and I don't even know if that had anything to do necessarily with the shooting.
Hmm.
But no, like I said, if you looked at me, I still look. I even went roller skating not too long after getting out of the hospital to make sure that I was good. I went roller skating. Um, I've jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. I've been ziplining.
That's good.
I ride roller coasters for a living because I'm a thrill seeker. So yeah, no, just to look at me, you would never know that I've been through what I've been through.
Right. And I know that there was no proof that your ex-husband was responsible for you being gunned down, but what makes you feel like he was directly related to it?
Well, there's some information I probably can share now because it's over with and the case never came up. All the evidence was circumstantial. So for them to, it's okay. So basically, one, I didn't, you've known me for years,
Hmm.
and the same person that I am with you is how I am with everybody. So I've never met a stranger until after I got shot.
Right.
I've always, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great night. Thank you. Um, I'm sorry, excuse me.
That's okay.
And I've never met a stranger. I've always been very open and honest, friendly, outgoing, will give people the shirt off my back.
Hmm.
And he knew that. And so you put me out 2 months and 2 days before I got shot. I had to have a restraining order against you. And then I filed for divorce 20 days before I got shot.
Right.
Now, I found out later on there was an insurance policy that I canceled. And I'm probably putting this out on the airways. It's the first time I've actually ever said this out loud, like in a setting like this. I mean, people close to me know,
Right.
but there was an insurance policy that was renewed
Hmm.
that I canceled. And even though I gave all that information to the police, it was still circumstantial. It wasn't enough evidence for them to prove it. Because his thing was, he really felt like I was going to come back and that he was just protecting me and him.
With the
Um,
insurance policy.
exactly. And so, so it's, and then again, like I said, I never met an enemy. It's coincidental. It just happened to happen in front of my parents' house. It didn't happen anywhere else. You didn't pick like a
Grocery
a
store.
grocery store, a mall, somebody else's house. You know what I'm saying? You could have, if you were following me, you probably could have got me outside the church, but you strategically waited in front of or you had the person wait in front of my parents' house. It almost like it was sending like a double sign, like, okay, so first of all, I want to kill you. Second of all, I want you to die in front of your parents' house because I want them to suffer too. I want them to suffer more
Right.
than me just, that's the way I look at it. So um afterwards, it was a lot of fluff. And then like my thing is I've asked several men who I've been, that are close friends of mine, who I asked, like if you had a restraining order against you, but this was your wife or somebody you even, generally loved and cared for, and you found out that they were gunned down and probably about to lose their life, would you allow a restraining order to keep you from going to the hospital to see about them if you were so concerned about them or if you loved them as much as you said you do? And everybody's answering me like, F a restraining order.
Right.
That I'm gonna be there, and He never showed up, never tried to show up. Actually went to the courthouse and had tried to have the restraining order rescinded so he can come, but he never showed up at the hospital because he was like he didn't want to go to jail or he didn't want to risk going to jail.
because he knew that he would be a suspect.
Well, not even just be a suspect, just the fact being that because of the restraining order, that was his excuse. Well,
Oh,
if I
okay.
go anywhere around her with the restraining order, I could go to jail. And like I said, that's just foolishness. I mean, if you say you care, but you
Right.
know,
And so, um, a lot of this stuff I know I'm just asking these questions so that
of course.
the audience can be abreast of it. And so, you birthed, what made you birth the For My Voice Matters?
So, in all actuality, you know me. Even though I talk a lot, don't necessarily mean I want to talk a lot. If that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
So I don't, I know you know, but there was a young lady by the name of Fatamia Smith.
Oh, and before you say that, I brought her up yesterday, and her cousin actually was in one of her cousins was actually one of my subscribers, and it was so funny because you and Tammy were very close as well. I remember that. So go ahead and tell the story about our dear friend Tammy.
So Tammy used to do my hair, and it got to the point where I seen. It was not too long after I left my, or that I got put out home from my ex-husband, and I was, she was doing my hair, and we were talking, and I noticed some signs between her and her children's father. And I just said, sis, let me just be candid. So I shared my story with her, and that allowed her to open up to me. So we just began to have conversation. And then I got shot. So after, she realized I had that I survived or whatever have you, we started talking after she actually took me to church one Sunday. After I was able to get home, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to do 50 million things. I apologize. So I was we were just talking, and what happened was, for Tamia, unfortunately, lost her life 4 months after I got shot. She was killed point blank in the chest, and they didn't find her body for a couple of days, and it was devastating to say the least. So
Right, because she was missing, and we were all looking for her, and yeah, so that was the
correct.
devastating part, right?
Yes, ma'am. And so, and then to find out that, well, he was, I could say it because he was actually convicted, to find out that her children's father was the one who did it, and he hid her body for a couple of days. And it was just really terrible. Well, 6 months after that, um, her sister decided, Desiree Fleming, decided to do a domestic violence walk in for Tamia's honor. And
I
I
remember.
guess for Tamia had felt comfortable enough or trusted Desiree enough to tell my story to share my story with her. And um I was okay with that. When Desiree finally came to me, she asked, could I share would I mind sharing my story at the domestic violence awareness walk? And I agreed at first, reluctantly, but I did agree. And that's how it got started. So after I did it, I actually filmed it and put it on YouTube, um, and Facebook. And within a matter of like 72 hours, I had over, I don't know, between like close to 8,000 views between both platforms. And my best friends and pastors at the time, Kenquana Monique Clark and her husband Christopher Clark, had tricked me and took me out to dinner. And we were just talking, like we hadn't seen each other in a while. And I'm going back over it in my head, and I'm laughing as I'm even thinking about it. So we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, so what you gonna do with all this? You got people following you now. You got to follow." And I said, "I'm like, I'm not gonna do nothing with it." And they're like, "You got to do something with it." And I'm like, "No, really, I don't. I only have to be African American and die. Those are two requirements in life that I got to listen to. Everything else is optional." And they kept kind of pushing me and prodding me. So we sat there that day and we came up with a name. And I realized because I had a job at the time, I wasn't really trying to be a non for profit. I was really just trying to bring awareness. So I wasn't trying to open a shelter. I wasn't trying to um, be a resource. I wanted to be the person to connect you to the resources. So that's how my journey began. So I went and did my 40 hours of domestic violence training with the state of Illinois. I made partnerships with different agencies throughout the city. And then I said I wanted to take it larger because I wanted to be able to help people in other states as well as in Illinois. So I partnered with a shelter in Dothan, Alabama. I ended up writing my book because I went on a speaking tour to share my story for the first time. And that's where I got the speaker's bug. I got bit by the speaker's bug. But For My Voice Matters is a nonprofit organization that, like I said, I'm a connector. So I do have events, or I had events. I'm going to be doing them again, but I have events to bring awareness. So I'll bring speakers in, or I'll have some type of teaching, or we'll have some type of activity. And it's geared around domestic violence or suicide prevention. All money and funds that are raised, they go directly into an account. So when people need assistance, whether it be moving, whether it be they may need food, they may need clothing that their abusers take them, may have them in a financial bind where they can't do the things they need to do, then my organization will give stipends or funds to these people. In the year during the pandemic, in the year of 2020 and 2021, I started what I called the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Initiative. So I actually, to date, have assisted 4 families coming out of a domestic violence relationship and relocating, whether it be relocating within their city or actually moving them from one state to another. I've moved somebody from the south to the north. I've moved somebody from the east coast to the west coast. And I've helped a couple people in the city of Chicago actually move, whether it be with helping them with the van, helping them, with moving costs, or what's the word I'm looking for, down payments, or, initiating their security deposits for their apartments and things like that.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And yes, and I remember when it was birthed out of you, and I remember the walk for Tammy, and just the whole ordeal. And so it's great that you, kept her voice alive with your story as well, and are helping others. And you've also written one or two books. I know I bought one. Did you write another
Yes,
one?
I have. I've written another one, and I guess I've gotten a bit bitten by that bug as well because I really said I was not an author. I didn't feel like I was an author, but I am in the process of writing my third book. So, the first book, of course, is called Assassination Avoided, Destiny Defined, and that book was.
Can you say it a little slower so they can?
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. I do talk fast, and I do apologize. It's called Assassination Avoided, Destiny Defined.
Yes.
Title kind of speaks for itself. I avoided being assassinated, and I believe even in all that trauma, it started taking me towards my destiny, or the destiny that God has for me.
Yes.
And the second book is When Did I Stop Loving You? And it's a self-help book to assist you in learning how to love yourself again. I never realized until I started dating again and getting into, and it's so true, you can't love anybody else unless you love yourself fully. And I never really realized, I realized once I was in an abusive relationship that I had stopped loving myself. However, I thought that I had started loving myself again until I started seeing some things in myself that were not comfortable. And then some of the people that I would date would point things out to me indirectly, and I would catch on to it. And then I realized that I need to take a look at self, and begin that journey of actually loving me, so I can in turn love someone else.
That's awesome.
Um, so that's what that book is about.
And one day we'll have a panel talking about self-love, because that is something that is so important for us to learn how to love ourselves. And in reality, I believe it might even help us to avoid situations such as, I mean, we never know who we meet if they're going to be an abuser. But I honestly believe that if we love ourselves more than we love that person, that we might be able to get away from it maybe
Mhm.
easier or quicker. But that's something that we'll talk about at a later date because that's important that we love ourselves. So
Yes, ma'am.
I really, really am so happy that I got you on here, and I know you've done different events and things of that sort. I do have some comments in the chat. Florida Red, I think she may have stepped out, but she says I stepped back in to say I know it is going to be a good live. My mom was stabbed to death by a jealous boyfriend. DV is real serious.
Yes,
And
ma'am. And I'm sorry that you lost your mom.
then Sting of the Black Scorpion, what is that noise? Somebody else says, I had two aunts who were killed by their husbands. Wow. And let me see if there was anything else in here about it. It's so sad, but it happens and it's so common. Um, Okay, so the rest of the comments are basically speaking. Everybody's speaking. I was just making sure I didn't miss any more or if there were any questions. Does anybody have any questions for Renee about her experience, about resources, about avoidances and things to look for? Any of that? Let's see. Oh, Lucinda Speaks had a comment too that I noticed. Um, She said, if you were not a black woman, would they have done something more?
You know what? That's a good question. It's a very good question. What I will say is I'm finding out the more I do more research, as far as why my case has stopped, it would be because they never found the shooter or the gun. They did what they could, but because my ex-husband claimed he didn't have anything to do with it, he didn't know anything. And I can honestly say I seen my assailant. I had never seen him the day before my life. I gave the best description I possibly could after coming out of surgery when they came with a sketch artist 2 or 3 days later. And they never found him or the gun and couldn't connect my ex-husband. So anybody, if you ask anybody, if you tell somebody stood over you and shot you 4 times and then they walked away, of course, I would say that's attempted murder. However, because you have to prove intent to kill for it to be attempted murder. So since they never found the person who stood over me and shot me, all they could call it was aggravated battery with a firearm.
Wow.
So yeah, really disappointing. That's how the system works. Um, just a sidebar, our legal system is just right, like really, really full of garbage. And the reason why I say that is because my car was stolen a part of this Kia challenge, the Kia Hyundai challenge, where they're like going in and starting cars with UV plug. These kids are going in breaking cars and starting with UV plugs that you use to charge your phone. And when they found the kids in the vehicle, they couldn't arrest them for stealing the car because they couldn't prove that they stole the car, even though it was in their possession. All they could do was get them on vehicle. I can never say a
Vehicular,
vehicle.
vehicular
Yeah, thank you very much.
manslaughter or
Um,
something? No, no.
um, what is possession
Possession.
or
Okay. I said
or
manslaughter.
something crazy, whatever it was. They
Right.
couldn't prove that they had anything to do with it. So um, that's where the problem came in at. You know what I'm saying? So it's so the law itself, when we come to things like that, it's always some type of loophole that they get over with, and people, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's sad.
but yeah, that's I believe honestly, the county that I live in.
Are you in Crook County?
Yes, I'm in
Crook,
Crook County.
Crook
Right,
County.
Crook County. You said it right. You said it right. I believe that they're not as diligent as far as looking for stuff
Not
if
for
I was
us.
in DuPage County
And
or if I was in another county.
I'm in DuPage County.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I believe if I got shot in DuPage County that they would have put all the dots together and dude would be locked away.
and unfortunately, I found that to be true when because I was born and raised in Crook County, and I noticed that when stuff happens out here, they
Mhm.
find the people. It can be anything, and they find them so fast till it's scary.
Right, like okay, so since we're talking about Crook County and how they do it, so let's just be clear. When they had that big shooting at Oak Mall almost a year.
You're bouncing your sound.
Okay.
What you say? I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's my fault. I'm trying to close up these doors so I can go home, girl. I'm finally
Okay.
getting up out of here. They when they had that shooting at Oak Mall,
Oh yeah,
okay, so you know that was DuPage County.
right.
They was on it right away, talking about we not gonna let nobody come in from the city and mess up our town and blah 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 this and the other. They caught the people right away, put them in jail. Everybody was arrested,
Yep.
and they deal with now whether or not they get off because it's still about the law and how they do stuff.
Right.
The fact then is they actually caught them the same day. Like they didn't waste no time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
that
can't
was.
do that. That stuff happen in North Riverside all the time and
Yep.
they just kind of let that stuff go. And I just think that it's just real bogus. So yeah, I just if it would have happened in another county, I honestly believe that somebody would have, whether it be my ex husband or the person who actually shot me, somebody would have, I think, would have had to answer
And
to
that
the situation.
and you know that here in DuPage County we have a lot of domestic. Most of our crimes are domestic related.
Hmm.
Um, and they usually get the person and do whatever they need to do. So that's sad. But Lucinda also made a comment that my sorority sister was killed, body missing for 2 months. Is she still missing, Lucinda? And
That's
so
it.
Renee and our friend, she wasn't missing that long. Renee, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to get out of here, girl. I gotta lock up.
I know.
Y'all excuse me. I work for a government entity and they left me here by myself. I gotta chain doors and I've been here since no o'clock this morning. So y'all please forgive me. I'm trying to get up out of here. You hear me?
Okay, that's okay. I'm glad you made it actually. And she didn't expect to work late. She's a supervisor, so she ended up having to stay late. So that I'm sorry. But anyway, Inclusion Guru says, "Where is the offender? Are you afraid with him being free?"
To my knowledge right now, again, I believe my ex-husband had something to do with it. He was not the person who shot me. I have to keep repeating that. I don't want nobody going around saying, Renee said your ex, you shot her. No, I did not. I believe he had something to do with it. That's my truth. Um, he is what he thinks is living his best life. He is remarried. Um, Last I checked, he was working. We have not, we've been divorced. It'll be 12 years in February. However, the last time I physically seen him was probably my mom's been deceased 5 years now. So I want to say maybe about 7 years ago. His family for the most part was good to me. I really didn't have any issues with them. I just kind of distanced myself after the fact because you never know who you can trust afterwards. But some of them have reached out to me via social media, so I do keep up with some of them. And I found out that my father-in-law had passed away. And so with him passing away, I wanted to go pay my respects. And in me going to pay my respects, I saw him in passing. I didn't stay around to have a conversation. Um, so yeah, that was the last time I seen him. So to my knowledge, he's living his best life or what he thinks is his best life.
So he probably is over the initial fact that like they can't take the rejection of you not wanting to be with him anymore. So he's probably gotten past that.
That would be my prayer.
Yeah,
However, when you're dealing with narcissistic people,
girl, that word
and
is that word is so fluent throughout these streets, these YouTube streets.
because you know what, people didn't realize that we've been living. Okay, so it's about to be an alarm, y'all. Hold on. I'm getting out the building. Very sad. All right. So now I'm outside. Okay. So um, people didn't realize when you start doing the definition of narcissism and things like that, everybody probably has a little bit of narcissism. Don't get me wrong. But then there are some people who are totally narcissistic, and those traits are like for real, for real. And
Mhm.
when I look back and I look over my life and I look at the definition and stuff, I see like again, hindsight is 2020. Um, I didn't realize a lot of stuff, but then again, I was young, so I met my ex husband. I think I was 22 or 23, and like I kind of grew up with him. You know what I'm saying? We started dating at a young age and got married. I got married right before like maybe a couple years before I turned 30, and yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah, so right now, like I said, I think he's probably think he's living his best life, and I hope this stays.
so Lucinda says that her husband, the friend that she spoke about, her sorority sister, her husband killed her and bombed her new boyfriend's house, and she died. Oh, she died. Okay. Wow. She left two kids. Her husband is still in jail. And that's what happened with our friend Lucinda. She left four children, and they were all by him. And so he's in prison. Did he was he sentenced? I remember he was convicted, but I didn't know if did they ever sentence him
Yes, he was sentenced.
to life?
I think he got. I can't. I don't want to lie. I want to say he got 27 years. I would look right now, but of
I
course, if I
said,
look, it'll disconnect us.
oh no, that's okay. Because I had been following and I remember him being convicted, but I never did go back to see how many years he got. So I'll have to check that. But it sounds like you might be right. Because I remember Desiree, oh, she was knocked off. She'll come back. So yeah, so who else has some hi auntie in the service says narcs are dangerous, toxic people. Um that's okay. I just threw you back
You
in.
know what? No, I just actually my phone. I hit the back button
Oh,
to
okay.
move out to clean out the chats, not even a disconnect, so I could try to get my phone to connect to the car,
Oh, okay.
and then it just totally kicked me out.
Yeah.
Smartphones are really not that smart. You all, if you all did not know that, they're really not intelligent at all.
So I really appreciate you sharing this. Hopefully it'll shine some light on and that's one thing too, Renee. When you were going through the abuse, did you share it with anybody or did you like try to keep it secret? Did you hide it?
No, ma'am, I kept it to myself. I like I said, I've never met a stranger. I always wore a smile. I tell people back then. I've repeated myself over the years, but I had imposter syndrome on lock. I could go around somebody and could have just gotten jumped on, and nobody would know. And I didn't tell anybody for the same reasons that you hear when you talk to people who are survivors. For fear. At one point in time, my ex-husband had threatened my family and my friends. I never want anything to happen to them because I always thought if something happened to them and it's my fault, I would never be able to live with myself. You know what I'm saying? That type of guilt like that. That whole don't nobody want you but me. The whole cycle. Like, they pick you up just to tear you down. And the
Right.
more they pick you up, the more they tear you down, the more you keep kind of getting sucked into that thing. And I just had, after the very last time he put his hands on me and swore he would never put his hands on me again. And from that day to this one, that promise has been kept. Praise God. We had gotten to an altercation August of 2006. And what happened was my ex-husband was also a habitual cheater. And I had my fill, and I told him, you won't leave me, you won't divorce me, you won't, y'all, I'm telling you, you can go ahead and be with old girl. I'm over it. Um, and you still want to manipulate and be here for what? You really don't love me. You don't want to be here. Just leave. And he wouldn't. So I told him, I said, okay, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I actually started stepping out on my marriage. And I do not condone or tell anybody that's what they do. This is just my truth and my story. And nothing, I was not, and the difference between my ex-husband and he was like, he got one girl, and he kept that same. He would have other girls on side too, but it was one girl that he kept promising he was gonna leave me and be with her, and she wouldn't get the hint. She just stayed and stayed and stayed. And unlike my ex-husband, I wasn't trying to build a relationship with nobody. I was just trying to do what I was gonna do, mind my business, and going about it, and just do whatever. And this one particular night, because if any men are listening or watching, I will say this. I'm gonna give you a little tip. You all are creatures of habit. Once you start breaking habits or doing changes, we begin to notice stuff. But we also know that we can do stuff because you are a creature of habit. So every Saturday, like clockwork, my ex-husband would go out. He would leave at the same time and come back like at 0 o'clock in the morning the next day. And so I could do my stuff and not have to worry about him following up on me, because I knew I would never leave right after he would leave. I'll wait a couple hours, and then I was always back home several hours before he would come home. Well, I guess this particular night he must have got into it with his girlfriend or whatever have you. He cut his night short, so he was looking for me, and of course I was busy, so I wasn't answering my phone. So when I got home, um, yeah, we got into it. We went. He took me to a field, or not a field, graveled behind a factory. And this was the first time I actually defended myself and fought back, like physically. Like most times it was like when he would abuse me, it was either pushes, open hand slaps, or mostly verbal and emotional abuse. And it was never anything where he would leave a mark. So again, I would never have proof. Even if I wanted to go to the police, I never had proof that there was anything, because he would never leave a mark. And so this particular time, when I had basically told him, I said, if you come up on me, I'm gonna steal on you, and it ain't gonna be cute. And he was bigger than I was, and I don't know. I guess I had a shot of courage or something. I don't know. He walked up on me, and I stole on him, and I broke his glasses, and that didn't do anything but infuriate him. And I had the little person on my shoulder talking about, why you do that? And I was like, because I just wanted to. And they was like, well, now you about to get it. And sure enough, I lost my footing. He jumped on top of me, and this is the first time like he like literally beat my face, to whereas the left side of my face, he almost broke my jaw. And I tell people, like, I should have took pictures back then, but I did not. And I, like, my whole left side of my face was deformed. It was swole up. He wanted me to go to the emergency room after he seen what he had did, and I wouldn't go. We were living with my parents at the time, so he lied because I couldn't talk, and told them I had got jumped on in the park by some girls. And just a whole nother story. So the next day, my mom made me go to the emergency room. And when I went, police were asking questions, but again, I couldn't talk. So I was trying to write stuff down, but every time I would try to write something down, of course, he would come between me and the police officers of getting it. And they just really, I don't know if they were just dumb, didn't pay attention, didn't care. I don't know, but they weren't catching on. And when I got back home that day, that was the first time I had ever actually seen him cry about me. And he cried, and he was like, he was so sorry. He didn't mean to do it. He loved me. He shouldn't put his hands on me that way. And that's the day he made the promise that he would never um, beat on me again. So when I talk about like seeing signs and wondering what transpired or what could I have done, a lot of it was fear. But if I could just be brutally honest rather, excuse me, I actually loved my ex-husband. I didn't like him. We don't necessarily like anybody anyway, but I actually loved him, and coming from the church, swag, we we're taught. This is one of the biggest things too, and I've always wanted to get into the church, talk about domestic violence as well.
To be
We're
quiet
taught
and
to
not tell nobody what's going on in our household.
that and to pray. That prayer is going to fix everything. And that's not always the case. You need some counseling,
Exactly.
you need some direction, you need somebody to care. And then what I've also realized is there are certain times that there are certain churches that I have approached in a certain area, I'm not going to say where. However, and I've tried to say, let me come in and speak to the women of your church or the men of your church, and, so we can start getting a handle on this, because I believe the church can be pivotal in changing this thing around. But what I found out was there are so many people that hide behind the Bible, the cloth, whether they be the pastor, the assistant pastor, a deacon, or whatever have you, that they're abusing their wives and first ladies and stuff like this. So of course they don't want me coming into their church speaking my truth, because then I might actually empower somebody to actually leave
Yep.
their significant other.
Yep.
So, um, with that being said, I do what I can when I can. I never force an issue. I never force my opinion on anybody. I state truth and facts when it comes to statistics about domestic violence and what I feel you should do. Because what I'll tell people is, if you're listening and you know somebody who is in an abusive relationship, as much as you may want them to be free and want them to live a better life, and you feel like that they could do better and you could help them or whatever have you, until they want the help, until they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, you can beg and plead all day long. What will happen is, let's just say you get them to leave and they don't cut ties, or they're not strong enough, or they still love, or they still whatever, and they turn around and go back. One or two things gonna happen. You're gonna be totally upset, call them stupid, call them out their name, and maybe disassociate yourself from them, or you're going to still be around, but you're not going to want to be that source of somebody they can confide in anymore, because of course we never want to see our loved one hurt. We never want to see them going through anything. But when they're not ready to go, and we put ourselves in those positions, and we're not ready to understand that there's a possibility they may go back, they may not, they may not want to be out like that, we take it personal, and we shouldn't,
You see,
because this is their journey they have to walk out.
you see Lucinda's comment. She says, I was told by the church to be quiet and don't share things in the marriage. My ex was a narcissist.
See? So the church, as much as they say it's a hospital and they're supposed to help us, a lot of times the church hinders people in domestic violence relationships, because again, we talk, and I mean, that's not even just church saying, just coming
Families
up in
too.
a black, yeah, coming up in a, mostly definitely in an African American household, you come up and everything that happens in the house stay in the house, you know what I'm saying? And we live by that, and it's also killing us. Quiet as is kept, and so yeah, and that's why I don't necessarily believe in the four walls of the church anymore. I think a lot of people came up in the pandemic and they realized a lot of stuff. Now, I still have ministry. I still believe in God. I still read my Bible. I still talk to people. I just don't really feel like I have to be within the four walls anymore, because sometimes the four walls are more of a prison than they actually are a help.
And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all, I don't see any other questions. I didn't want to keep you all late tonight. I didn't want to keep Renee too late because she's been working hard all day. But I really do want to tap in again and have some of you all who are in the audience in the chat to possibly come up, not today, but like Lucinda, you can come and talk. Any of you who have experienced domestic violence, whether it was mental or physical, because it can be both. And we'll do this Friday. Wait a minute, today is Wednesday. Yeah, maybe Friday night. And so I do have on Tuesday night, I do have a young lady who is also from Chicago, and she's going to tell her story from the viewpoint of being 16 years old and what landed her to serve time as a result of her not sharing and not telling that she had been being abused and the way the laws work. So on Tuesday, please make sure that you tap back in again at 7:30. Um, let's see. Lucinda says, I got my divorce a year later. Some people still say I didn't try hard enough. I'm built I built too much to allow him to take me down. Right. And and it is. It's a reality. It's a reality. And it needs
Well,
to
Lucinda, I'm gonna say congratulations,
yes.
because until somebody walks, no, I'm not even walk. Somebody put your shoes on. They never know what we're going through behind the scenes. So I congratulate you on being not just a survivor, but a thriver, because it sounds like you're doing extremely well.
Yes, she's a school
And
teacher.
I'm sorry.
She's a school teacher. Yeah.
Amazing. So you know what? And I don't know where you teach at. However, you have an awesome platform, and I've been trying to get into the school systems, but I know as you know, sometimes it's difficult for people like myself to become vendors in certain school systems. But I would love to connect with you if at all possible, because I've been trying to get my story, and you probably need to get your story into the school system, because what happens is, there's this is the way I look at it. Not only are teenagers, because there is teen dating abuse, and that's in the month of February. Um, Teenagers are going through, and they're in these relationships, and they're becoming abused, or doing putting themselves in situations they should not be in. That's one. But two, what about the child who is a product of abuse, meaning that they actually live in the house and they witness it and see it? Most times when kids or children are subjected to that stuff, there one or two things gonna happen. Well, one or three things gonna happen. Of course, the third is I pray this for everybody, which would be that they see and they pay attention, and they know that that's not the life that they want to live, and they don't fall into that cycle, or A or B, which is terrible. Either they become an abuser, or they become the abused, because they think that that's how, or they're taught that that's how love is. The only reason why they do this is because I love him, or he treats me this way, or she treats me this way because I love him. Because females are not exempt. I know a lot of females who are abusing people right now, and they're getting away
Yes.
with it because they're female, and it's not right. So
I had that
again,
conversation. I had that conversation today. I was telling my husband when we were having dinner about tonight, and I said, there's men who are. He says, "What, you want to beat me up?" I said, "No." I said no, but I was just telling him, men are also victims. They're not
hmm
always women. Inclusion guru, she's also a teacher, and she says, "Thank you so much for having this discussion." Yeah, she's a great content creator as well.
my
Yeah.
pleasure. Thank
So
you for having me, Swag. This was amazing. I haven't done anything like this in over a year, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you as well. And those of you who are in the chat, please make sure that you hit the like button. And if you don't already, please go over and follow Lucinda Speaks, Inclusion Guru. Diva the Boss is coming on next for her Wine Wednesdays. Please go over and join her. She was gracious enough, even though we don't owe it, we don't have to, but because we work together, she usually comes on at 7, and so, or 7:30, and so she allowed me to, we talked because we want to support one another. So thank you, Lucinda. Lucinda says this was a great conversation, and we will be having more of this month, and and other things. I do also want to talk about breast cancer, but I have, I'm looking into that. So before you all go, anything else you want to say, Renee?
No, again, Swag, thank you so much. I appreciate you opening your platform up to me. And if anybody needs to connect, just put all my information out there. I'm an open book, and I love to connect people. If you're looking for a life coach pertaining to overcoming triggers of trauma, because I tell people all the time, it's not the trauma that you need to overcome, it's the triggers associated with it, because trauma happened. You can't change that. It's something that happened, but overcoming the triggers that cause you to relive or act like you're still in that moment, those are the things that I help people get over. So
And I will be posting the tour information again. Renee travels worldwide, and she has her last tour date in Atlanta, Georgia, next month. And then, if you're interested
this
in,
month,
oh, I'm sorry, this month.
this next week,
Oh, it's October what? The
22nd.
22nd. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So her last tour date for this month will be in Atlanta, Georgia next week. And I'll put that information on my community page, as well as if you're interested in being a speaker at one of her tour. She goes all over. And so you can contact her. And if you want to, be a speaker, she will be glad to have you join her. And so before you all go, do me a favor and either say it to yourself or type it in the chat. I must, I can, I will. Have a great evening.